Welcome to the Keeping It Real Community Talk Show. My name is Marque Stansberry, your host, and today we're going to talk about educating the minority male child. We have the honor and the privilege of welcoming best-selling author, ordained minister, community activist, and educator, Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. How are you doing there,
How you doing,
sir?
Mark? Good to see you again.
Good to see you too, sir. Could you tell us a little bit, you're founder of the African American Images Company. Can you tell us a little bit about what does that company do?
Well, we were founded in 1974. We're a book publisher. We've published over 100 books for adults and about 30 books for children, primarily promoting self-esteem, cultural awareness, and appreciation. We're also a consultant to school districts. Primarily, we work with teachers trying to close the achievement gap between white and Black and Latino students.
Great, great, great. You know, Doctor, I read in your bio that you were clear to mention that you were raised in a two-parent home. And I wanted to know, why did you mention two-parent home? Was that important or germane to who you are as a person?
Well, at one level, Mark, I really don't want you to talk as much about me as I want you to talk about, the thrust of our program. But unfortunately, 32% of Black youth have their fathers in the home. So I was blessed that my father's in the home. But my concern in Bakersfield and with school districts is that many teachers believe if a family is low income or if it's a single parent home, then the children can't learn. And I take the position that if we raise teacher expectations, if we increase time on task, if we understand children's learning styles, then that will negate whether it's a one or two parent home or the amount of income in the home.
That's a very good point, Doctor. We had a session on the education achievement gap, and what we found most germane was the level of expectations, parental expectations in the home, and expectations in the school. Now, you've developed several curricula around lifting expectations. Can you espouse or expand on those?
Well, one of the programs is called TESSA, and I didn't create it, but it's a national program, Teacher Expectation Student Achievement. The research shows if you increase expectations, you will increase academic achievement. But Mark, it also shows that many teachers, not in Bakersfield, but in Fresno, in Oakland, I'm just teasing, that most teachers lower expectations based on 4 factors: race, income, gender, and appearance. So if you're Black, if you're poor, if you're low income, if you're male, poorly dressed, you're in serious trouble in most public schools nationwide.
Yet at the same time, Doctor, you might agree that some teachers who might not be of an ethnic minority with good intentions, are you saying that they might unconsciously have those low expectations, or is it that a person must make a conscious effort to have high expectations regardless of who you are?
Well, see, I think that in most universities, education departments prepare teachers to work with Leave It to Beaver, Donna Reed, Father Knows Best children. Children who come to school motivated, whose parents believe they're the primary educators, who do not allow 38 hours of television to be watched. I want to park there. Black and Latino children watch 38 hours of television. I'm a real stickler for time on task. Whatever you do most is what you do best. And Black and Latino youth are watching far more television than studying. For example, Asian students study 12 hours a week. White students study 8 hours a week. Latino students only 2 hours a week, and African American students only 1 hour per week.
What would you ascribe that to? Obviously, it's something going on in the home, or with parental supervision or family supports.
Oh, no question is the home. And not only with regards to television, 18 hours listening primarily to gangster rap, 11 hours either playing basketball or on a telephone. Now, educators love it when I talk about what parents are not doing
Right.
between 3 o'clock and 9. But let's also look at what teachers are not doing between 9 o'clock and 3. For example, as it relates to expectations, I mentioned earlier that many teachers are not giving high expectations for Black and Latino students, for low-income students, for male students. And I want to bring white males in on this. As you know, one of the books I've written is titled Keeping Black and Latino Boys Out of Special Education. My concern here in Bakersfield, have we designed a female classroom for large numbers of male students? I mean, in the white community, there's a 2-to-1 ratio of white boys to white girls being placed in special education. There's a 4-to-1 ratio of Black and Latino boys to Black and Latino girls in special ed. So even white boys are being placed in special ed more than white girls. Now, Mark, I believe one major reason for that is that we have a preponderance, a large percentage of white female teachers. Literally, the future of the Black and Latino race lies in the hands of white female teachers. White female teachers are 83% of all the elementary school teachers in America. I don't think it's an accident that white girls are placed in special ed the least, and white, Black, and Latino males are placed in special ed the greatest. Could it be that many teachers do not realize that boys and girls have different learning styles? That's why I mentioned, have we designed a female classroom for large numbers of male students? For example, if you know that boys have a shorter attention span, then teachers should shorten the lesson. If you know that boys have a greater energy level, then allow more movement. If you know that girls mature faster than boys, then allow for that maturation difference in your classroom. And unfortunately, many teachers have not done that, to the demise of not only Black and Latino boys, but even white boys as well.
Going back to the issue of expectations and setting high expectations, how can teachers who are not African American or Latino or white male, but how can white females, if you're talking about the majority of the teachers are white females, how can they begin to heighten that expectation level for our boys, irrespective of ethnicity?
If I could answer that question, Mark, I'd be a multimillionaire because it's a real difficult issue.
I guess what I'm saying are there some practical steps that those people, those teachers can take to at least begin to address the issue?
Well, see, here's the challenge. First of all, as a consultant, schools bring me in, and let's say I have a group of 30 teachers
Yes, sir.
and one principal, and I give this quote-unquote fantastic workshop on expectations. Well, that's on Thursday. The next day, those teachers go back into the classroom. If the principal is not visiting those classrooms and monitoring his or her teachers to see if they've implemented what I mentioned on Thursday, then my workshop is for naught. And Mark, there are 5 types of educators in Bakersfield. First of all, we have custodians. I'm not talking about janitors. I'm talking about educators who graduated in 1979 using the same lesson plans 30 years later, who will tell you, I got 1 year, 4 months, 3 weeks, 2 days, and I'm out of here. We have a lot of custodians in Bakersfield. Then we have referral agents. They don't teach, they refer. The research shows 20% of the teachers are making 80% of the referrals for special education and suspension. Then we have instructors. These are the ones who believe they teach subjects. I teach reading, I teach chemistry. They believe they teach subjects, not children. I want to park here. See, for Black and Latino students, there can be no significant learning until we first establish a significant relationship. And then we have teachers. They understand subject matter like instructors, but they also understand pedagogy. And there should be a congruence between pedagogy and learning styles. Let me translate. You don't give left brain lesson plans to right brain learners. For teachers to tell me that Black and Latino students can't learn, and yet those same students can listen to a rap CD and in 3 to 5 minutes can repeat the words verbatim, shows children learn in different ways. And then we have coaches. They understand subject matter, they understand learning styles, but they also understand you can't teach a child that you don't respect, that you don't understand their culture. So there are 5 types of educators. And my workshop is not as effective for custodians, referral agents, and instructors if principals are not visiting those classrooms.
So with regard to the 5 different types of teachers that you so eloquently discussed, being that they're not going to change anytime soon if there's no intervention, I just want to know what can be done? Is there a role for the community, for the parents, to encourage this type of paradigm change?
There's research, marks showing that 2 consecutive years of an ineffective teacher could destroy a child for life.
Wow.
So your question is prophetic. As long as those teachers remain, what are the outcomes for our children? Now, I'm in favor of looping, where you have a teacher who will stay with a classroom for more than 1 year. But I'm not recommending looping with custodians, referral agents, or instructors. But can you imagine, Mark, if we had a little Black or Latino kid, an underachieving kid, with a master teacher for 2 to 3 consecutive years, what kind of impact that would have? And let me just up the ante, because I know our time is limited.
Go for it.
Governors, I won't mention which ones, but there are governors nationwide that are determining prison growth based on 4th grade reading scores. Now, how asinine. We're spending almost $30,000 a year with a recidivism of 85%. Wouldn't it be cheaper in Bakersfield if we allocated $500 for a literacy program for this 3rd or 4th grade student to turn his life around, rather than waiting until he goes to jail with that kind of recidivism?
Well, maybe that's a little bit too practical, Doctor. But I did want to take up an issue with regard to single female-headed households. We know that, unfortunately, a majority of African American and in many cases Latino children, and emerging even the white children, are being raised in single female-headed households, many of them below the poverty line. What are the implications, in your opinion, for that male child?
Well, 2 things there. I want to take advantage of this audience watching this show.
Yes.
There are 40 million poor people who live in America. 40 million. 24 million in one group, 16 million in another. Now, nationwide, when I give this information, I then ask the audience, what group would you say is Black and Latino? What group is white? Invariably, my audience feels that the 24 million are Black and Latino.
What are they?
The reality, there are 24 million poor whites in America, 16 million poor Black and Latino. For some reason, ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox, they can find the 16 million poor Black and Latino. But for some reason, they can't find the 24 million poor whites. I want to also mention, because you made reference to it, not all is well in the white community. The divorce rate in white America hovers near 50%. But in Black America, it is 66%. So no question, we have a serious problem across America as it relates to this divorce rate and single parenting. Now, one of our concerns, in one of my books that I've written titled Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black and Latino Males, I have this concept that some mothers raise their daughters and love their sons.
What does that mean, Doctor?
Double standards. They make their daughters come in early, but not their sons. They make their daughters study and not their sons. They make their daughters do chores and not their sons. They make their daughters go to church and not their sons. They even lie to their son and tell them at 9 years of age that you're the man of the house.
Correct, I've heard that before. And I'm sure, and I'm assuming, but I'm sure that you're not blaming single female-headed households. You're just pointing out that there is a different style of rearing based on gender. Is that correct, Doctor?
Yeah, but my concern, though, is that here it is, she has a son and a daughter.
Yes.
She's Black or Latino, she's poor, but look at the fantastic job she has done with her daughter.
Yes.
Now, what's amazing to me is, you know, many adult women are experts on Black and Latino men. In other words, they're very critical of their shortcomings. Well, if they know so much about what Black and Latino men are not doing, why don't they correct the problem with their 9-year-old son? Unless they replace their ex-husband with their son. I want mothers to see their 9-year-old son as someone's husband, someone's father, who's not going to be there. indefinitely. That's why I always challenge mothers, like I'm going to do tonight with your audience. I'm going to ask the mothers, how long can your son stay in your house? And that will let me know how serious she is. We have 2 sons, 37 and 32, and we had lots of rules when they were growing up. And the first rule was, on your 18th birthday, you have to go.
Yeah, that's unusual. You don't really hear that in the, with parents asking
It's
their
called
kids
tough
to go
love.
at 18.
It's called being responsible.
And what were the results, if you don't mind me delving into that?
Both of them left at 18, one off to college, very responsible. One is in the mortgage industry, another's a chaplain, with the military. But we're talking about teaching boys to be responsible. So I'm concerned about the large percentage of sperm donors in California. And we can't blame that on the white man. I believe boys make babies and men take care of them.
That's right.
I believe the problems in Black and Latino America could be solved tonight if Black and Latino men stayed with their children.
But yet, at the same time, doctor, and just to point out what I see anyway in my community, that there are no supports and there is not that message that men take care of their children. Instead, we have the gangster mentality, the thug mentality, that machismo attitude by which we don't relate to feelings. We're just tough people. We go around, we possess, we conquer, we destroy, but not that we nurture and we develop. I mean, that message isn't getting out there. It's certainly not getting out there through the music, doctor. So what do you suggest? How do we begin to get that message out?
Well, I agree with you totally. When you and I were growing up, the greatest influence on children was the home. It was home, school, church. But now the peer group is the #1 influence on children. The rappers are second, and television and video games are third. There was a popular rap CD between 50 and Sierra, and the title of the CD was Can't Leave 'Em Alone. And Sierra says, I tried that good boy game, but that dope boy is turning me on. Or should I say, turning me out. And even though I know our concern on this show is primarily with the males, 1 of every 4 female teenagers has an STD. That transcends race. 1 of every 4. But for Black and Latino girls, 1 of every 2 Black and Latino girls has an STD. So the rappers are raising our children. And so we need to really look at that. So I recommend to parents, you have to monitor what they watch on television. You have to watch it together with your children. You have to listen to their music. For example, I may be with you here today in Bakersfield, but believe me, back home, my TiVo is taping 106 in Park. If I'm going to work with young people, I need to watch what they watch. And I believe when I mentioned that song, Can't Leave 'Em Alone, see, I use that song in my youth group.